Greetings and welcome to another Fate Grand Order video. Today we're talking about the final ultra high difficulty quest for the Nero 2018 event. And this quest is definitely by far the most difficult as it combines all the special gimmicks from all the previous fights. The multiple gods on the same servant, debuffs when they die or buffs when they die, insane defense buffs, MP spam, all that other stuff. So let's go on to the fight and literally show you what we're dealing with. So, right off the bat, you can see that we are dealing with 6 servants. Jack the Ripper, Medea, Ultra, Lancer Alter, Amakusa Shiro, Ozymandias, and Nero Claudius. Now, what makes this fight so difficult is that every single one of them is going to grant the rest of them a buff when they die. The buffs are as follows. Jack is going to grant everyone a 5000 HP regen per turn. That really is pretty ignorable. 5000 is about half an attack during one attack, so really not that difficult. Medea, on the other hand, has the most devastating buff of the entire fight. And at first it doesn't seem that much, but it's a defense buff and usually you can deal with these. However, this defense buff is so powerful that attacking Ozymandias with a rider dealt damage in the hundreds. And yeah, that is not something you want to be dealing with, especially when you stack up with his own defense buff that we'll talk about later. So Medea is definitely the last one you want to take out during the fight. Then we have Ultra Lancer. She doesn't have anything too special other than giving everyone a MP buff per turn, as in every single one of them will get 1 MP charge at the end of each turn. It may sound like that is actually pretty devastating, however, compared to the other stuff, that is nothing. Now, Amakusa himself has by far the most devastating buff in the entire fight, because upon entry he will debuff whoever's in the front line with a reduced max HP of 2000. So you lose to 2000 permanent HP and that lasts 10 turns. And I can guarantee you will not last 10 turns with that. The problem with this buff, well this debuff, is that he can actually cast it himself again and it stacks. So can you imagine suddenly being 6000 HP down from your total of 14? Yeah, not fun, right? Then we've got Ozymandias. He has an insane buff that he casts on himself when he enters a fight. And that is attack up, defense up, and what's it called? Oh yeah, and a small heal to himself. The problem is this defense buff is a 44% defense buff. Yeah, not fun, especially if you accidentally kill Medea and then he comes in. Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Now, the other problem is that I believe Nero has something similar. Yeah, her second skill has the exact same ability in that she heals herself for 3400 and has a 60% chance to increase own attack and defense by 44 for 3 turns. These buffs stack. So Ozymandias will cast it once on himself as quickly as he can when he enters a fight, and that won't take up one of his turns, and Nero Claudius can actually cast it upon herself. However, Ozymandias also, when you kill him, will grant everybody sure hit. That means evasion of any kind will no longer be an effective way of stalling out the fight or surviving. And lastly, Nero Claudius, upon death, will grant everybody a guts that will heal them for around 20% of their HP. So yeah, fun. So those are the 6 servants we are dealing with. So how do you deal with this fight with all that stuff and surviving all the MP spam you're going to be taking? Well, this is how I personally did it. The first one you need to take out is, well, before we actually go into that, we actually need to talk about the servants we're going in with. And in my case, these are the servants I actually used. So as you can see, I went in with a very interesting array of servants. Now, unfortunately, Mashbrilly is there to allow me to actually go in with all 4 of my event craft testers because they do take up 12 points each, and along with really my Amakusa because I was running out of space. Now, my Amakusa is there because his Noble Phantasm is actually relatively important for my strategy, in that he was in charge of removing Ramses' buffs as soon as he came in. And that's what his MP does. It removes buffs and then deals damage. It doesn't hit particularly hard, he does not hit particularly hard, but that was his entire job. Tank as much damage as possible, and then eliminate as many buffs as possible. Now Martha, I would say, is probably the most important servant I brought along, and that is because one of her skills, even in her base form, will heal the entire party for 1000 and remove any debuffs. So that is extremely important during the second turn of the strategy I developed for this fight. Now, Jean Alter support is there because not only is she insanely powerful, but she had a limit broken event CE, which meant she was dealing a insane amount of damage, and could easily take out the opposing Amakusa with 2 attacks if needed. Now, Helena was there to help Nobunaga charge up her MP because she was going to be needed during the final phase. And Nobunaga is there as my choice of anchor because both Nero and Ramses have the riding skill, which means she will deal greater damage to them. She's an archer, which means she can help deal with Nero during the end of the fight. And she has an MP charge buff for everybody else and has a critical gather rate and increased critical chance in one of her skills, meaning she can help finish off the fight after she gathers some stars. And Mesh is really there just to help protect everybody with taunt, invincibility, and noble phantasm power. So that is the team I went with. So what is the general strategy that I would recommend for this fight? Well, on turn 1, you want to do your absolute best to eliminate Jack on turn 1. And that is because after if you can get both Amakusa in on turn 1, that means you will have all 3 debuffs within 1 turn. That is, when the fight starts, Jack puts a 3 buff nullification debuff on you, so it'll eat up 3 buffs. And Medea will cast a 1000 poison per tick for 10 turns on your entire party. And Amakusa will cast a 2000 HP max HP reduction on the entire party. So those are 3 buffs you need to get rid of. Martha can get rid of all of those just with her 1 skill if you're able to eliminate Jack the Ripper within the first turn. So now that it's turn 2, what is your job? Well, you want to eliminate Amakusa as quickly as possible so he doesn't use that skill anymore. And that's why Gene Alter is there. Alternative damage, he can eliminate Shiro in an extreme prejudice, let's just say. After that, you want to eliminate Altria because she really is just there and she is probably close to launching her Noble Phantasm. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any savers, but luckily Gene Alter did the job for me, so she shouldn't be too much of a problem. And now, near the end of the fight, you are left with Medea, Ozymandias, and Nero Claudius. This is where things get extremely difficult because you need to kill Nero 4 times. You don't want to kill her before anybody else. Well, before Ozymandias, because then Ozymandias will have a resurrection buff, and so on and so forth. So when Ozymandias came in, he cast his skill that grants him attack and defense buff automatically. So he's already got that in. Look, that's why I brought my Shiro in. You can probably replace Shiro with anybody that eliminates buff. Medea would even be decent just to get rid of him. And with that, I was able to start dealing decent damage to Ozymandias. After I got him down to around 30-ish thousand, I switched over to Nero and started wooling her down. Luckily, by this time, Nobunaga was in, and I was able to actually burn her down with Nobunaga, thankfully, thanks to Helena granting us a Buster Up buff and everything else. And I do believe Mash was already in, starting to tank some of the damage. Luckily, she was there with her taunt and invincibility when all 3 of them launched Noble Phantasms. So she ate Ozymandias' and Medea's and allowed Jack and Helena to survive. Well, longer. After that, I was able to charge Nobunaga's Noble Phantasm and Helena's Noble Phantasm, and both Ozymandias and Nero were below 10,000 thanks to regular damage, which allowed Helena to eliminate Nero's last Guts buff, and along with Ozymandias. And then Nobunaga came in and eliminated Nero to the end. And that left only Medea. And once Medea is left, you really should be able to finish it off on your own. Medea has only got a ton of 20,000 max HP. Although with all the buffs, you do have to kill her twice, but her resurrection is only around the 40,000 HP, I think. But yeah, that was the strategy that I went with during the fight, which got me the victory. Now I realize going with that strategy may not be possible for everybody because eliminating Ozymandias' buff as soon as he came in was a crucial part because it meant I could deal proper damage to him. Because on the turns that I wasn't able to eliminate him, I was dealing so little damage, I was burning through 4 turns instead of 2, trying to take him down. Well, not completely, but getting him weak enough so they can be eliminated with that 1 AoE Noble Phantasm. And that really is all I was able to do, and it was really a bunch of luck to making sure people survived and everything. But all I'm able to show you from that fight, because I wasn't able to record it because I was out having lunch when I finally beat it, is just the last 2 or 3 turns, which I'll show you anyway. But yeah. That is what I did. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time for the upcoming Halloween event. Later.
くってよ。とっておきを出してあげる。よかろう。であるか。海にレムリア、空にハイアラキ、そして地にはサナトクノラ。
良いぞ。多少はやるか。地上にあってファラバカ。
司令上げていくぞ。
苦しんでもらおうかしら。残念。
神明是非もなし。会長であるか。私は最悪の席に立つ。それは全ての傷、全ての怨恨を癒す我らが故郷。権限せよロードキャメロット。三千世界にしかば天魔合輪。これが魔王の三段牛じゃ。司令
術説世のことはその場にルールブレイカー。絶望なさい。
わしに任せよ。で了解。わしじゃ。押し切ります。司令きれい。
指先もういや。
わしこそが第六天魔王織田信長じゃ。